Hey everybody, it's Larry from Flying L Comics. Hey, we're going to start a new project today. I got this from my good friends over at A1 Comics in Sacramento. They've graded it as a 4.5. So let's see if we can do anything to improve upon that. Let's take a look at it. This is the first time I've actually looked at it. I've had it sitting here for a little bit, and I kept meaning to take a peek. Okay. Well, first thing I see, it's got some really good cover gloss. It's got a date stamp on it. It's got an ever so slight spine roll right here. It's got some page creases. Staple is right on the spine at the top, but it's got a curved roll over here. Looking at the back, it's nice and square. It's got a little bit of crunches down at the bottom. There's no marble chipping that I could see. Maybe a little bit here at the top, but it's so minor. The cover's dirty. We'll give it a good dry cleaning here. It's got quite a bit of tanning on the interior pages. Looks like the staple attachment's pretty good. Looks like it's a little bit ink faded. You know, that's where the inks are just not as bold and prominent. But you know, the pages they're creamy. Not fully tan. They're definitely off-white. I think they can be lightened up a bit. So here we are. We come to the center wrap. There's looks like a little bit of rust, maybe not too bad. I'm not seeing anything missing. Any pages, pictures are cut out and things like that. All in all, this one looks actually pretty nice. So yeah, I would tend to agree as is with the gloss that I see on this, and with the spine ticks and everything like that. This is probably a conservative 4.5. I think we can possibly get it to a 5. So a course of action on this book, I think, will de-acidify everything like we normally do. I think on the cover, though, I don't think we're going to go with a detergent on it, or a surfactant, I should call it, because we use the Triton-100 on it, and it's a very mild neutral surfactant. Lifts a lot of the dirt out. We'll see how it goes. This has got a nice tight spine. I don't see any repairs that really has to be done to it. So it's actually a pretty nice book. I don't see any tears or anything here. So, okay, so we got a new project, and we'll get started on that. First thing we're going to do is, when we take the staples out of our X-Men number 28, first appearance of Banshee, is we're going to orient the staples. We're going to separate them out. So first thing I want to do is take a piece of tape here. We're going to write X-Men 28, top and bottom. So you've seen me do this before, but we'll walk through it one more time. I have two favorite tools here. We have the capable staple tool from Immaculate Comics, and we have the flawless staple tool, also from Immaculate Comics. So we're going to go ahead and go straight to the center wrap right here, And we're going to very gently take our tool and we're going to try and lift an edge up here without tearing the paper. Once we get that first edge up, there we go. And we get the next edge up. I still remember the first time I actually pulled staples out of the book, and it was terrifying. So if you're terrified, it's okay. I didn't enjoy several things. I did practice on some junky books, which I also recommend doing if you haven't done this before. So the staples look pretty good. The patinas are really nice. I wasn't sure because they're so pressed into the book. So I'm just using this to gently lift up so I can just get underneath this one staple. Well, that is really in there. So when I have situations like this, I need something that is also Teflon coated, but boy, that one's really nice. Okay, don't try this at home, kids. All I want to do is, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to take this staple, I'm going to gently fold it vertical. And we'll hold that in place, and we'll grab it again and gently push it to the vertical. We don't want to mar the staple because we're going to reuse it. Okay, that first one is ready to come out. So we don't want to make the holes any bigger than they already are. So we're going to be very gently pulling this out. Okay, now keep the orientation of the staple. I am going to use the tool here and we're going to square up the edges. This is a great tool, folks. If you don't have one of these, you should get one if you're going to be doing this kind of work. Immaculate Comics. Okay, so we're going to maintain this orientation. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the mat here, and we're going to put this right on B, drop it back down, and we'll do the same thing with the top staple here. Back to mat, go ahead and turn this around so it's closer to me. So we'll get this, and I'll just push this up enough so that I can get the tool on. We use the center hole here, and we'll just push so gently. Probably doesn't look like I'm being gentle, but I am. I don't want to enlarge the hole, as I said before, and we also don't want to pull the staple through the paper. That's why we use the tool. Okay, so I turn this back around so we have the correct orientation. And I'll push this back through ever so gently. There we go. And we have our staple. All right, so now we have both of our staples out, and they're attached here. I'm going to put the top one in here. Now, what I like to do, because I'm going to put the wraps away for right now, so I'm going to take this whole thing right here, and I'm just going to glue it down to the backer board here. All right, so now, first things first, we will separate the wraps. Now we can see this still has a lot of really great gloss to it. In case you guys are ever wondering what that is that I am wearing on my head, this is it. It's a 3.5 magnification. I got it off of Instagram. I saw it and I go, oh, that's interesting. It's better than the big clunky thing I've been wearing. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It comes with a full set of lenses that are interchangeable. But if you want to do really close-up work with these books, that's what I'm using. Okay, anyway, back to the book. Looks great. Staple holes are really strong here. I don't see any reason to do any mending to this cover. So we're going to go ahead and give it a bath though, but I don't want to lose the sizing here. So what we're going to do, this is going to be a very gentle bath, minimal surfactant. We may run it through, I think what it will do is we'll run it through our normal bath, but it's only going to be just a few seconds, and normally we would run about 3 baths. I don't think I want to do that with this one, so we'll just run it through a normal bath. So let's get the setup. Okay, here we have our first wrap. It is nice and tan and still shiny. We'd like to keep it that way. We don't want to remove the sizing. So this would be a nice gentle wash. We'll put it down here in the tray on top of the first sheet of Polytex. And we add in the second sheet of Polytex. And over here I have our calcium hydroxide, very minor surfactant in it. So there's 300 milliliters, and once we clean it off, I am going to pour it off and show you how much dirt comes off. So the first thing we're going to do is pour this into the tray. And we'll just get all these air bubbles out. That way I'll allow the book to absorb a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead, and I got a timer going off screen, so we'll go ahead, and I like to roll this around to make sure we get all of this in. You know, the dirty part obviously is on the inside, so we're going to flip this over. Like I said, this is going to be a very quick clean when I get all these air bubbles out. We just want to get it in here enough to where it gets into some of these tanned areas. And I can already see the cleaning solution already changing colors. So I'm not going to do this for any more than about 5 minutes. But I also don't want to waste your time. We'll come back in 5 minutes. Okay, we're back. It's been about 5 minutes. I did flip it one more time in here. And as you can see, the calcium hydroxide solution is a little bit yellowing. That's from the tanning that has come out of the book. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour this back in here. Okay, so I know I've got an inverted camera right now, but you can see with the bubbles, it's it's kind of urine colored actually, but that came out of the paper. And let's see how much came out. 300 milliliters went in, and I have 250 milliliters in the jar. So I'll set this over here off the camera. So now what we want to do is I want to take some of our pre-used paper towels, and we're going to pull up from both sides as much of the moisture and the tannins as we can. Without losing any gloss from the cover. So that's why the short baths are much better than the long baths. The long baths, basically you're sitting in your own filth. Well, the book is the same way. We don't want it sitting in its filth. So we try to pull it out into the paper towels. And I'm going to flip this one more time. And now what I'm going to do, we're going to continue this. We're going to add another 300 milliliters, but this time it's going to be a rinsing solution. There's no soap or surfactant in it. So I'm sorry I'm off camera pouring this. There we go. Now one more time for 5 minutes. Okay, we'll come back. Okay, as you can see, the fluid is run pretty much clear. So let's put this over here. Again, there's no soap in there, so you should be able to see this one just fine. There's no bubbles. Okay, so this, as you can see, is pretty much clear. So I'm happy with the cleaning of the book. So now what we're going to do is prep it to go to the heat press. And if you're new to the channel, I pressure dry the wraps, cover included, in a heat press at a fairly low temperature. I do have a system. I'm constantly changing the paper towels, or the diaper as I like to call them, because we're pulling the fluid out in all directions from the wrap. And then we pressure dry it in between the steel plates. So with the bond paper, so we get an absolutely smooth finish. And people ask, well, Larry, how come you didn't dry clean the book before you wet cleaned it? Well, I have a reason. And I have discovered that, at least my method, is once this book is pressed glass smooth, it's a lot easier to dry clean. And a lot of the dirts have already been loosened, if not already came out in the wet solution. So maybe it's a little bass-backwards, but that's how I do it. Okay, so this book is now ready to go into the heat press for a little bit. So we'll be right back. Okay, while the wrap is drying in the heat press under pressure, we're going to go ahead and start the inner wraps. Now this is the very first wrap, or primary wrap as we call it. I'll go ahead and cover this in the same way. And we have our calcium hydroxide. I have it here. I mix this stuff up in gallon containers because, you know, I go through a lot of it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pour this down. We'll push this down. We'll just pour this right on top of the wrap. Keep it pressed down and submerged. Okay. Now, what I want to do is we want to smooth this out, get all the air bubbles out, because the Holotex will trap some air bubbles, and wherever there's air bubbles, it's not going to get clean. So, one thing I can show you is, it's hard to see on the screen, but you see some darker edges around here, around the spine. It isn't necessarily dirt, it's the way the paper is absorbing the fluid. Now, A little bit of education on sizing. You know, these comic book pages are sized just like the cover. Sizing is what makes it thicker. You take a napkin or a paper towel, there's no sizing on it. That's why it's so wiggly and soft. But these are a little bit stiff. That's part of the process when they're processing the pulp. So it is going to eventually fill in here. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the same process. We're just going to roll this around. And I want it to get some uptick of the calcium hydroxide because I am going to put these in the blue light chamber. And this particular batch of calcium hydroxide, I have 2% by volume of hydrogen peroxide in it. And that is reactive with the blue LEDs. That will help to lighten the paper, but we don't want to go crazy. We're not trying to go for bone white. We never want to do that because, well, back in the 60s when this book was printed, it was printed on pulp, which is what this is, and pulp was never bone white. So we want to keep it as original as we can. But working with a perfectly smooth wrap. Many of you have seen my videos already. This is how my preferred method of treating the comic books. Then we reassemble them, press the spine into them correctly, and then we send them off for a grade. In this particular case on this book, I don't see any repairs that we have to do, at least not obvious. So hopefully this is just to be a simple cleaning and off it goes. Okay, the wrap is out of the heat press now. We can take a better look at it. I like how everything came out. It's actually quite clean. I don't see a whole lot of dry cleaning I need to do, maybe some spots along the spine here. But overall, I think we have a winner. This looks good here. This is just a wet stain because I missed some water over here, but that's okay. It comes out. Yeah, this looks good. The tannins and the acids came out just fine. Still got a little bit of dark. Still got that creamy look, which is what we're after. So definitely see how it was printed askew and was probably folded askew is the same way. Looking at it, I don't know, it's pretty squared up. I think it looks good. All right, so next thing to do is we're going to work our way through the wraps, and then we'll start the process of reassembly and final pressing, and then we'll send it off. But all in all, this looks pretty good.